Live from the WTXL studios, this is ABC 27's News at 5.
Severe storms tonight rolling in South Georgia. Good evening. I'm Abby Maurer.
And I'm Paulo Salazar with a look at what's going on outside. Let's turn things now over to meteorologist Casanova Nurse, who's standing by with a look outside. Cass, how's it shaping up?
We've had some improvements in the overall broad nature of that complex of thunderstorms in South Georgia, and the severe thunderstorm warning coverage has been whittling little by little over the past half hour. So we see some improvements in the overall situation, but there's still going to be at least a little bit of extra lingering concern for areas, especially east of I-75 across the interior. And this is mostly an issue for Berrien County right now because of the intensity of some of the thunderstorms that are just passing through the 129 corridor, Nashville to Ray City, and then off to the east as you approach the Atkinson County area. That's where we still have a series of thunderstorm warnings, but those that were in effect for a good chunk of our region have since been allowed to be dropped a little bit early, including those in northern Lowndes County. Now, new information just coming in for the warnings that are still in effect in Berrien County. It looks like that it's still going to be in effect until 5:15 for those thunderstorms. That's been the main concern today, the gusty wind potential, and already several reports of wind-associated damage reports across sections of interior South Georgia as the thunderstorms have continued to barrel their way off towards the east and southeast. A little bit weaker on its south and western end, but there still may be at least a couple of isolated showers or storms that approach the state line as we head into later this evening. But it looks like a repeat performance of severe weather, very unlikely as it stands right now. Maybe a few redeveloping thunderstorms along the tri-state area between now and 8 o'clock. So our rain chances aren't necessarily done and over with, but maybe just the strength of the individual pockets of rain and the combined clusters of storms. Well, maybe the strength is not so much of a factor for the late night hours, but this could be the final day of what has been a little bit of an unsettled pattern for the past couple of days. As high pressure begins to build in, we may see a reduction in the rain threats, and maybe as the temperatures respond to that, you might want some storms to come back to cool you off. We'll give you all the details you need to know in your Storm Team forecast.
All right, Cass, thank you for that. Well, we have a traffic alert to tell you about. The Florida Highway Patrol is investigating a crash on eastbound I-10 near the Gadsden County line. Now, traffic is backed up there. The accident happened just before 1 p.m. Now, according to FHP, the driver of one of the vehicles was taken to a Tallahassee hospital with minor injuries. Now, the accident remains under investigation.
And taking a look at some news, one Waukulla man now knows his fate.
Today, Andrew Wilson is sentenced to life in prison. The aunt of one of the victims, Patrick Pittman, spoke to the court and asked for the severest form of punishment. Now, both families requested that if sentenced to jail, that he serve as far away from Florida and Waukulla County as possible.
Now, a judge sentenced him for life for each of the charges. There was a small discussion about money from Wilson's possessions going to the victims of the families. Now, the judge has said that it will be discussed in future court date.
And Wilson was found guilty for the March 2011 attempted murder of his estranged girlfriend, Gabrielle McKenzie, and stabbing deaths of her father, John McKenzie, and her then new boyfriend, Patrick Pittman. Now, in June, a jury recommended Wilson be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And an update now concerning the Tallahassee woman who was accused of murdering her grandson.
Martha White will soon be forced to undergo psychological evaluations. Now, a judge issued the order on Friday after a psychologist said she suffered from several mental problems.
White's attorney asked the judge to order a competency review after a psychologist about the findings. Now, the judge has ordered that 2 psychological evaluations be done within the next 15 days.
Now, White is accused of stabbing her grandson, 7-year-old Mason Reinhardt, to death. Now, it happened while White was babysitting Mason and his brother at their home on Bass Ridge Trail. Investigators say White pulled the 6-year-old into the bathroom and moments later started stabbing him. Mason later died at an area hospital. Meanwhile, in the search for justice, the Dan Markell murder It now has been a month since the state professor has been gunned down. Now, there remains many questions, but very few answers and no arrests. Tallahassee police were called out July 18th to Markel's home here in the Benton Hills neighborhood. Investigators said that they believe Markel was the intended target of a gunman, but who shot him and why still remains a mystery. Tallahassee police officers have been continuing to follow up on leads. A large cash reward is now being offered in the case. And anyone with any information is urged to call Big Ben Crime Stoppers. That number is 850-574-8477.
We have an update now to a story we've been following since the weekend.
A 9-year-old child who was involved in a crash on I-10 this past Sunday has passed away. A Chevy Impala was traveling eastbound on the exit 209 ramp of I-10 when the driver ran off the ramp, hitting a ditch. Now, Florida Highway Patrol says the car hit a tree and rolled several times. One
person was thrown from the car. Troopers say 31-year-old Nikisha Banks of Tampa was driving with 4 children inside. We're told her 9-year-old child was critically injured and was not in a seatbelt. According to troopers, that child died about 10 o'clock Sunday night. We're told it's now a homicide investigation and charges are pending. And funeral services are now set for 9-year-old Leo Walker.
Leo's body was found over the weekend in Live Oak after a community pulled together searching for him for days. Now, hundreds of volunteers and law enforcement filled the streets of the small community hoping to find the 9-year-old boy alive.
Instead, the town was filled with heartache when his body was found over the weekend in a pond. Preliminary autopsy results show Walker died from accidental drowning. No foul play is suspected. The funeral is this Saturday at 3 p.m. in White Springs at the White Springs Congregational Holiness Church. The church is located at 16633 Swanee Street. Visitation is Friday from 6 to 8 p.m. also at the church.
And a Live Oak man is being charged with attempted murder after he shot a man during an argument. Now, the incident happened Friday afternoon when Oscar Lee Kersey shot Quentin Hines in the back. Hines was taken to the Gainesville for treatment. 2 witnesses on the scene helped to track Kersey down. Now, those witnesses, Jason Cherry and Timothy Brown, were reportedly involved in the hit and run and were later tracked down inside a home they had burglarized on Shelby Street. Now, officers were able to track down all 3 men, and they are currently facing charges.
And in South Georgia, Tifton police are investigating a murder. Police say they were called out to a home on Timmons Drive about 11 o'clock last night. This is where they found Jesse James Harris II with a gunshot wound. So far, there are few leads in the case. Investigators are asking anyone with any information to call the Tifton Police Department at 229-382-3132. And a man wanted in Madison County is now facing more charges following a recent arrest.
Madison County Sheriff Ben Stewart says it all started when he pulled up over the faulty equipment. Now, Shelton Sanders of Madison was a passenger in the car. The deputy recognized him and knew that he had an active arrest warrant. After he was placed under arrest, officers quickly made another discovery.
Yeah, the deputies say they found a small plastic straw in Sanders' pocket that contained cocaine. Then, during a search of the car, deputies say they found a bag of the drug hidden in the back seat. In addition to the warrant, Sanders is now also being charged with possession of cocaine and drug paraphernalia. Also in Madison County, deputies arrest a man after they say he was driving in circles around fuel pumps at Love's gas station on County Road 255. Deputies say Christopher Cheatham of San Diego, California, tried to drive away but was quickly caught by deputies. They say he smelled of alcohol and his speech was slurred. Cheatham was arrested for DUI.
And investigators have busted what they are calling a marijuana grow operation. The bust was made Thursday at this home on Southeast Hamperley Street in Lee, Florida. Now, the raid turned up more than 100 marijuana plants. Investigators tell us that there was a large-scale operation inside, plus several makeshift living quarters. Now, we're told those running the operation were stealing electricity to keep it going. So far, one suspect has been identified, and an individual from South Florida, but no arrests have been made.
Hands up!
Don't shoot!
Hands up!
Don't shoot!
Hands up!
Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
One of the biggest stories in the news right now is concerning the protest in Ferguson, Missouri. People are speaking out, expressing their outrage about the death of Michael Brown.
Now, people all over, even here in Tallahassee, are taking aim at the police brutality. Now, this is video from yesterday's march, courtesy of our media partners at the Tallahassee Democrat. The Dream Defenders and dozens of their supporters took to the streets, making their way from Lake Ella to the Tallahassee Police Department, now in support of Michael Brown. Hands in the air and posters raised. People of all ages delivered the message, hands up, don't shoot.
The crowd also took the time to raise concern on a more local level. Several raised the issue about excessive violence being used by TPD officers and several fatal shootings that have happened this year. Now, TPD says it supported and welcomed the crowd's opinions. And controversy now as a Kansas officer is facing a review after he posted a picture of what has been mistaken to be Michael Brown.
And in fact, according to reports, the person in the picture is an accused killer from Oregon.
This picture circulating Facebook has repeatedly been mistaken for Michael Brown, the unarmed teen who was shot and killed in Ferguson. But when Sarah Jackson saw a Kansas City police officer post the picture, she spoke out.
Right now, with all the tension going on in Ferguson and the kid being, there's a lot of uncertainty right now, and I feel like the pictures were very demeaning and judgmental, very one-sided.
Officer Mark Catron posted, quote, "I'm sure young Michael Brown is innocent and just misunderstood. I'm sure he is a pillar of the Ferguson community," end quote. Also found on Officer Catron's Facebook page, this post. It said, "Remember how white people rioted after OJ's acquittal? Me neither."
But I feel like the way he addressed it was very racial.
Now, KCPD social media policy prohibits employees from posting anything otherwise biased against race or any religion or other protected classes of individuals.
Well, funeral arrangements for Mike Brown have been set for Monday, August 25th.
That's right. And as for the Facebook photo, a spokesman for the Kansas City Police Department says it's a personnel issue that will be addressed with that particular officer. Well, as the news at 5 continues, we've got our chief meteorologist keeping a close eye on the weather for you.
They'll have the very latest on any severe weather rolling in through the area and more on the two students who were arrested in California for their plot to go on a shooting rampage at their school.
Plus, more on the fight over the Mosul Dam. Kurdish and Iraqi forces now celebrating a victory.
In always, you can connect with ABC 27 on our official app. Stay up to date with the latest local news by downloading the app for free at the App Store and Google Play. Stay with us. We'll be right back.